What's up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. It's Miss Official A, and today we're talking about the Black Lives Matter movement in America, what's going on right now after the death of George Floyd. And one thing that I came across this morning that I thought was interesting is I found out that Starbucks originally banned their employees from wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts, whether they're ones they bought, made, or whatever. They weren't allowing their employees to do that because they said that it could start or cause more violence and hostility in the workplace. So Starbucks actually didn't allow any of their staff members to wear anything that had to do with Black Lives Matter or the Black Lives Matter movement. And I guess as of recently, maybe even in the last, as of yesterday, they changed their decision. And they actually came up with their own logo and pin. And they said until the t-shirts and the pins come in, now their employees can wear their own Black Lives Matter gear. But before this, they weren't allowing their employees to do that. So I wanted to show you a clip of what I'm talking about.
Starbucks changing its policy after being criticized for telling employees that they cannot wear Black Lives Matter paraphernalia. The policy was discovered after an internal memo leaked. This morning, Starbucks changed its course. In a letter to employees, it said, quote, "We've heard you want to show your support," and went on to say that employees can wear their own Black Lives Matter pins or t-shirts. The company has also designed a t-shirt of its own, which it will send to its 250,000 employees in coming days.
So, this isn't the first time I heard about Starbucks doing some kind of weird stuff too, because weird as in all these companies are jumping on to supporting the Black Lives Matter movement right now. Companies are going kind of above, not all of them, but a lot of companies are going above and beyond to show their support. And this isn't the first time that I've seen Starbucks not join when other companies are really supporting a group. And the other time I can think about this was, I guess at one point Starbucks wouldn't send free packages to overseas troops. I guess is what I heard. And so a lot of people started boycotting Starbucks because they weren't supporting the troops. I think it was when, I know war's ongoing, but a few years ago, well, it's been more than a few years, when we were heavy in, I want to say Iraq, a lot of people wanted companies to get together and send out packages to the troops and things like that. And I guess Starbucks just wasn't having any part of it. So along with this, to wrap this up, it is good that Starbucks is at least allowing people to, have their own voice. You know what I mean? Let them represent what they want to represent. I do understand a company wanting to have a uniform way of presenting themselves. So I understand that, okay, that's why they're making the t-shirts and things like that. I understand that their reasoning for it was that they didn't want more violence to happen, seeing as how the Black Lives Matter movement has been so closely connected with so much damage and destruction as of recently. But at the same time, it's such a sensitive situation, and I don't know who the owner of Starbucks is, but I'm assuming they're white based on what's happening. And I just feel like people that are white, which is such a general thing to say, but if you're not a minority, it's hard for you to even understand, if not impossible for you to understand where people are even coming from right now. people that are feeling pain from what's happened with George Floyd. So to say, oh yeah, I don't want any destruction at my business, at my expensive Starbucks coffee shop. I don't want to risk anybody breaking my windows or, costing me any more money. So don't wear any of that Black Lives Matter stuff. That right there, so from that, people boycotted Starbucks, respectively so. And when Starbucks heard that people were boycotting them, that's when they reversed their decision. They said you can wear whatever you want, and we have these Black Lives Matter t-shirts and pins coming in. I wanted to show you what the t-shirt and stuff looks like. I think it's this one.
All right, Starbucks, we've all heard this, right? They've received major backlash this week after it banned baristas from wearing Black Lives Matter apparel, despite one of the reasons being employee safety. Well, now the coffee chain is reversing the policy, and it has you talking. Starbucks says employees will now be allowed to wear Black Lives Matter apparel as part of its dress code, and now they're even making t-shirts for them to wear. But not everyone thinks this was the right move. So DBL Nation, what do you think? Is it okay to make political statements at work and know that they were allowed to wear pride pins, LGBT pride pins, so it seemed absurd that they couldn't wear Black Lives Matter? I'm going to read your comments.
All right, so now they're talking about whether or not it's acceptable to bring politics into the workplace, but I wasn't looking to watch this whole clip. I just wanted to show you the gear.
America went insane over the weekend. That's barely an overstatement. People in their 80s who have lived in the U.S. all their lives said they'd never seen anything like it. Ask an 80-year-old. This was without precedent in the modern era. A small group of highly aggressive, emotionally charged activists took over our culture. They forced the entire country to obey their will.
Took over our culture. They forced the entire country to obey their will.
It happened so fast and with such ferocity that virtually no one resisted it. People seemed bewildered, even stunned by what was happening. Statements of fact and opinion that were entirely within the bounds of reasonable conversation just last Sunday, suddenly, a week later, were enough to get you fired from your job, and a number of people were fired. An awful lot happened this weekend. For the next hour, we want to assess the aftermath of it all, suggest what it may mean, and where this country is likely to go from here. But first, we want to give you a sense of what happened. We're going to begin tonight in Minneapolis. That's where the Black Lives Matter riots first began almost 2 weeks ago. As the violence there raged, some Democratic leaders in Minneapolis came to a conclusion that didn't, on the surface anyway, make intuitive sense. What their city really needs, they decided, is less law enforcement. In fact, no law enforcement. So they began to demand that Minneapolis, quote, defund the police. Now, the first thing you notice about this idea is how unpopular with the public it is. Almost nobody in the country supports it. But the activists, undeterred, kept pushing the idea, and within days, pressure mounted on the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, to get rid of his city's police department. Activists wanted actual answers, so Mayor Frey tried step 2 in the process, groveling.
I've been coming to grips with my own brokenness in this situation, my own failures, my own shortcomings, and I know there needs to be deep-seated structural reform.
Again, good try, brokenness. It sounds like a sermon. Give a raise to the staffer who scripted that. But again, no dice. Black Lives Matter, to their credit, wanted a real answer to their question. It was then that Jacob Frey made a fatal mistake. He put himself in a position where he could be asked that question directly. Here's what happened next.
He's up for re-election next year. If he says no, guess what the he's gonna do next?
Yes or no, will you commit to defunding Minneapolis Police Department? What did I say? We don't want no more police. Is that clear?
I do not support full abolition.
All right! Hey! You're wasting our time! Get the out of here! Go home, Jacob! Go home! Go home, Jacob! Go home! Go home, Jacob! Go home!
What a remarkable piece of tape that is. Has a big city mayor
All right,
in this
so
country ever been more thoroughly
that's the
humiliated?
Minneapolis,
Get the F out of here, she
Minneapolis
screams, "Go!"
mayor getting booed and cussed out, like, and just walking away with his head down. Now, this sparks conversation because I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on this as well, where people are talking about whether or not it makes sense to say that you don't want any more police anymore.
Party when they kill them. I can go on and on and on and on and on about injustice and killing of innocent Jamaican people that far outnumber the amount of killings that occur by the hands of police in Jamaica. Oftentimes the killing that occur in Jamaica are when police go kill bad man. But nobody now protest that. Nobody now protest when bad man are kill people. But as soon as the police kill a bad man, everybody come out and protest and burn down this and burn down that and this and that. So I don't understand why we as Jamaicans especially get up people, hug up criminals. Why do we, you understand? Why do we see the need to shield these murderers? Them are kill innocent people. In the ghetto where me come from, if somebody...
So this crowd is asking the mayor of Minneapolis if he will abolish, defund, get rid of the police department in Minneapolis. The crowd there, the very large crowd there, wants him to commit to getting rid of the police department, to defunding them, not giving them any more money, not putting any more resources into the police department, and letting it die out. Realistically, that doesn't make sense. Now, I know everything else doesn't make sense. I know that. But at the end of the day, we still need some type of police force to keep some type of order. What are we going to do? Have, just run around with no type of structure at all? The thing is, we need to reform what's in place. We need to somehow fix what's in place. But getting rid of order altogether and just having a free-for-all is not going to solve the problem. And I know I'm not the only one that said that. I was watching another YouTuber that was talking about how, he understands everybody's frustration, but he also doesn't agree with completely getting rid of all police. He was talking about how there's a lot of crime in Jamaica, and that although police take bribes, they still do protect. They're still the people that you call if you get robbed and things like that. So at the end of the day, I'm also bringing this to my channel for a discussion on what do you guys think? Do you think that it would really be better if we had no police force whatsoever? Do you really think that would really solve all the problems? Or is that going to create complete chaos? So the mayor gets booed off stage, for lack of better terms, and this guy that's reporting is completely appalled and pretty much is saying he has no balls, and he just couldn't believe that the mayor just tucked tail and walked away. Now, you guys might have also seen that we're being shown a lot of images of white people, whether they're political leaders or regular civilians, that are bowing down to black people and washing their feet and things like that. My stance on that is, in the Bible, we're not supposed to be bowing down to anybody. We're not supposed to be bowing down to any statues, any people. We're not supposed to be worshiping anybody but God, ever. If you want to wash somebody's feet, then you want to wash their feet. But just bowing down, just like a worship, as if I'm putting you above me in a place where only God should be there. God is a jealous God. You don't bow down and worship anybody. If you want to show respect to them, if you want to say things to them, if you want to wash their feet, whatever, that's what you want to do. But as far as really worshiping somebody and bowing down to them, We're not supposed to be doing that, according to the Bible. And I also want to know what you guys think about that as well. And I'm aware that this post could really bring about a lot of craziness, but I'd rather us really be able to talk about the situation, because that's where we have the power right now. We have the power to talk about the things that are going on in the world and then make a decision on how we want to act. What businesses do we want to support? How do we want to spend our day? So I'm going to continue this. The next part is going to have you probably a little floored, because, okay, a lady, she looks as if she has some type of background, minority background, but who knows? You know, I'm just going off what she looks like, stereotypical stuff, you know? But she comes on to his platform, and she's trying, actually it wasn't him. The lady comes on to another lady's platform, and the white lady's asking her, how is this going to help if we get rid of the police and people like me, say there's a break-in, she says, and people like me, you know, we're going to call the police, and, you know, if they're defunded, then we're not going to have them. And the other lady, who I assume is a minority background of some sort, says, I understand what you're saying. I too would like to call the police and know that I'm safe, or that they'll protect me. And she said, now imagine living in a world where that's already your reality, that they won't show up. Was trying to show the white lady that asked the question, like, or trying to communicate to the white lady that asked the question that, okay, that's a comfort for you, white lady on TV, but what I'm trying to say to you is that people of minority, black people, Spanish people, anybody of a minority, anybody who's not white in America, when you call the police, it doesn't necessarily always mean you're going to get help. They could show up and all of a sudden now you're the problem, but you called for help. Now this guy doesn't understand that whatsoever, and I don't think he's really open to even understanding what the lady's even talking about.
Well, the correct answer to that, needless to say,
so he goes on and on about how we can't believe that this guy just turned around and he's like, well, what if the guy would have just said, no, screw you, lady, I run this city,
they can
and stayed there.
this
He
country,
thinks that would have been better.
If your
so,
home
whatever.
invaded by violent criminals is in fact a sign of racism.
Now he's saying,
Do you understand?
Oops, hold on. He said, let me go back. What did he call it?
Political movements or a Senate which
A
are
desire
headed up
for-
by how straightforward their members and sympathizers are about what they believe. Strong people say what they think out loud. They have no reason not to. They're not embarrassed of their beliefs. They think they're winning.
I've seen this guy talk
With
before
that in
too,
mind,
and he's like
watch this
really
clip
like
from CNN
sharp with his
this morning.
tongue, but you can tell
This
he's
is the
looking at a
president of the
teleprompter.
Minneapolis City Council.
All right, here it is. Desire for safety is now a sign of racism. So they're really coming at her and like making fun of her almost, it seems to me, for trying to explain the fact that when, I'm just going to say somebody that's black, when someone that's black calls the police, it doesn't necessarily mean they're getting help. The police can show up and now all of a sudden, look at the video I just posted the other day where the police show up on the guy's lawn and they damn near arrested him. He could have lost his life if he would have fought back over the guy, the police officer, the white guy jumping out of the car and saying, you look like this Quentin guy and da-da-da-da. And he was really pulling on him and all that. Now, if that guy would have resisted and pulled back, then now he could have got shot. All for what? Because the white dude got out his car and said, you look like somebody. So they're trying to play this lady now. See, I don't even know. Now she looks white. I don't know what she is, guys. But regardless of what color she is, she's trying to communicate the point of when you call, if you're not white, you're not necessarily getting help at the end of the day. When the police show up, it doesn't always end up good for you. And they're twisting what she's saying into saying that a desire for safety is a sign of racism. That's manipulation at its finest. I'm going to play the rest of this.
Counsel Lisa Bender. Bender explains that the desire for safety, the desire not to, for example, have your home invaded by violent criminals, is in fact a sign of racism.
Do you understand that the word dismantle or police free also makes some people nervous? For instance, what if in the middle of the night my home is broken into? Who do I call?
Yes, I mean, I hear that loud and clear from a lot of my neighbors. And I know, and myself too, and I know that that comes from a place of privilege, because for those of us for whom the system is working, I think we need to step back and imagine what it would feel like to already live in that reality, where calling the police may mean more harm is done.
Hello, police. Armed men are breaking into my home. Help! Shut up, racist! Click! That's the world Lisa Bender is calling for. How many people watching CNN this morning as they got dressed agreed with Lisa Bender? Sure, that sounds reasonable. Calling the police during a break-in definitely qualifies as racism. It's hard to believe, even among
That's not what she
CNN's
said at all.
audience,
She
that
never
very
said
many
calling the
people thought
police
that. It's so
makes you sound
obvious.
racist or makes you a racist. I just explained it, so I'm not going to say it again, but can you see how he just totally manipulated that? Completely and totally manipulated that. And she really, whoever, I didn't see the name on the bottom, she really explained that in such a respectful, appropriately toned manner that I honestly can't see how they twisted what she said. I honestly don't see how this man who looks like he's like 50 something doesn't understand that. This man who looks like maybe he got in this job by going to college somehow, but you didn't learn that the basic like problem solving skills. Like you can't listen to something and decipher its true meaning, or he's just literally going on his way to manipulate this lady, or it was just a storyline for Fox News and he's the one who has to read it. But this guy's always saying some off the wall stuff.
Obviously nuts. On the other hand, it doesn't really matter at this point what the public thinks.
Hey, I don't know if you heard, but we just had a big development in the unfolding Spygate
so
investigations.
So he says it doesn't matter what
about anything
the public thinks.
In the case of this idea, many Democratic leaders are already sold on it. Here's former Congressman Keith Ellison on MSNBC over the weekend. Keep in mind as you watch him speak that Ellison is now the chief law enforcement officer in Minnesota. He's the attorney general. Ellison argues here that it's wrong for police to bring guns to domestic violence calls. Seriously.
We send out people with guns and they are there to use deadly force no matter what the problem may be. If the problem is sexual assault, we send somebody with a gun. If the problem is domestic violence, we send somebody with a gun. If the problem is somebody in a mental health crisis, we send somebody with a gun.
Okay, we know what you're thinking. That's Keith Ellison, kind of an unfair example. Ellison has long been a crazy person who was once attached to the Nation of Islam. Back then he called himself Keith Hakeem. More recently, Ellison endorsed Antifa. Yes, that's all.
Do you notice how they instantly associated him with Islam? They instantly told you a different name to call him. It's as if they instantly just tried to link him with being a fucking terrorist. Because this guy's trying to speak out against police that constantly carry guns to every situation. Now, I feel like I understand police having guns to the point where the original meaning of it was to protect, say, they go somewhere and something goes really crazy and they have to protect themselves. That's, I guess, what it was supposed to be for in the beginning. This man, though, Keith Ellison, it looks as though his name is arguing that maybe we're already sending the wrong violent message by constantly sending, like, every situation there is, we send somebody with a gun. Notice, he's a man of color. He's not a white man. And the one on the left just instantly linked him with terrorism, Islam, gave us a whole new name. He's like, that's when he was going by that. Whether he was or not going by, I don't know if he was going by another name, but listen, I caught on to that. You have to recognize that. That's a tactic. The guy on the left, before we even really learn why the man on the right said what he said, where he's going with his thought, this and that, the man on the on the left already discredited him. The white man already tried to discredit the man of color by tying him to terrorism.
Unlike other race-baiting extremists, Keith Ellison may have a promising political future. It's very easy to imagine it. If Joe Biden wins, Keith Ellison could be the Attorney General of the United States. At the very least, he would be first in line to become U.S. Attorney for the state of Minnesota, the top federal prosecutor there. What would happen then? We may live to find out. Again, all of this probably strikes you as wild-eyed craziness, flat earth stuff. Eliminate the police? Really? But things change fast. Look at how quickly they changed just over the weekend. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a skilled trend spotter, if there ever was one, is already acting as if defund the police, again, a proposal that no sane person even mentioned in public just last month, is now the defining civil rights issue of our time. Again, all of this probably strikes you as wild-eyed craziness, flat earth stuff. Eliminate the police? Really? But things change fast. Look at how quickly they changed just over the weekend. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is a skilled trend spotter, if there ever was one, is already acting as if defund the police, again, a proposal that no sane person even mentioned in public just last month, is now the defining civil rights issue of our time. You'd have to be a bigoted dinosaur, a bad person to oppose it.
This is one of those moments. This right now is one of those moments. So if you're an elected official that for any reason is on this call, I'm asking you to ask yourself, what are you willing to sacrifice?
So I think I'm going to end it right there, guys. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about defunding the police department, defunding the police force, about Starbucks? What do you guys think about the way this news reporter, if that's what you want to call him, completely manipulated the entire situation that lady was trying to say and almost really reinforced the negative stereotype about white people, like in ignorance? Leave your comments down below, guys. I'm more than happy to discuss this with you and go back and forth with you. Is not a problem. I know this is like a touchy subject, but we can still talk about it. You know, we're the ones that can make a change. We're the ones that can make a difference. We're the ones in the position. We're the ones going to these rallies, these protests. We're the ones owning these businesses. You know what I mean? We're the ones that are living during this time. So we need to talk about it, and we need to be the ones that help to make a change. Okay? So leave your comment below, and until next time, guys.